It was sometime late on the 30th of March that we were all set to sit here on the studios of MPL Presents Cricbuzz Live and talk about Delhi having gotten over the line and beaten the Kolkata Knight Riders thanks to a Prithvi Shaw 100. Well, it was not to be, because Prithvi Shaw got out on 99, Delhi panicked, took it to a super over, and the Kolkata Knight Riders, who have never won a super over before, kept their record intact. Phew. Now, past midnight, on the last day of the financial year, we have the result for you. It is the Delhi Capitals who have gotten over the line, finally. Where were we, gentlemen? A little bit confused, a little bit dazed would be the Delhi Capitals when they walked out there, and you'd have to say, and Michael Vaughan called it when we were watching the game, that Prithvi Shaw brilliantly played 99, but he didn't quite play that shot for the team.
No, I mean, Kevin Peterson on commentary said it was a shot for the team. I'd disagree, because when you got to 99, you just lost your partner, Rishabh Pant. You've got 12 to get off 11 balls. The game's won. You just kind of knock it around. You know that the pressure's purely on the bowlers. They're going to have to try something. There's nothing really in that situation that as a batting unit you have to gamble too much, because you've won the game. And you could tell actually from the way that he was sitting just beyond the boundary, he was giving it all this, he was praying, because he knew that he'd got his team in such a winnable position. He'd won the game for them with an incredible innings, and he's an incredible talent. You know, he's going to be around the IPL, he's going to be around Indian cricket for many, many years to come, and he'll learn from the experience of actually, when you get yourself in that position, all right, there's 3 figures to go for, and it's nice to get 3 figures by smacking it into the stands, but there's times when you just have to play the situation which is low risk, get the team over the line, wave your bat in the air as you've won the game. He'll learn from that tonight.
I think he'll learn from it tonight, but he's a terrific player, as you said. And the other important thing is there was so much pressure on him. You know, there was this newspaper, absolutely scurrilous newspaper report which said that, Sachin had to have a chat with him because, his head was not in the right place. Sachin never even met him, because from the moment he came back from Australia, he went straight to Bangalore. So Sachin calls up the journalist and tells him, "What are you talking about? I haven't even met the guy." And further, they went on to say that, he was dropped twice during the Mushtaq Ali, and he was sitting outside with 103 temperature. So all this is playing on the young man's mind when he comes out there, The journalists reporting about him, incidents which are not even true. Bombay is supposed to have dropped him. So for him, this is like redemption, that, okay, I proved it. And I think whether what he was playing for, I thought it was just bad judgment taking that shot. He just should have chosen at that point in time to play the ball. He would have saved at least some amount of hair of Ricky Ponting.
But we've got to say, at the halfway stage, we felt that KKR probably had 30 runs too many. And to see a young player, we saw the skipper as well, Shirasera, go out and play in such a common, kind of commanding fashion, hitting the ball to all parts, running between the wickets. Then you had Rishabh Pant come out there and play a little cameo with Prithvi Shaw, just caused chaos running between the wickets and hitting the ball to all parts. Again, 3 young Indian cricketers that have got a huge future ahead of them, and all right, he's not got the 100, okay, he'll be disappointed, but he'll be delighted now his team have won. But the way that he's played, it just it sends a message to me that he has got such a long future playing this game if he continues to play in that fashion.
And it is for that reason, despite the rap on the knuckles, that he is our MPL hero of the match. Prithvi Shaw brilliantly played. And there you see it, 99 of 55 deliveries. Yes, that 1 run extra would have been special. It would have probably not led to a super over, but fabulous strike rate of 180, 12 fours and 3 sixes. But a quick word on the other end. We talk about redemption. We had Kuldeep Yadav, who was the villain of the piece in the sense in the 11th over, just after Cricbuzz combox, when he went and conceded 20 runs, and then he comes and bowls the 20th over and takes it to a super over.
It's such a topsy-turvy one for him, because he bowls at bad over, comes back, redeems himself, comes in there, but then he had a sure run out which he missed. If he had got the run out up front, then maybe they wouldn't even have reached the super over, because remember, he had all the time in the world and he fluffed that. So it's been a strange match for them, and I think what is really important though is I don't think Kolkata will shrug and take this on their chin and move on, because this was a match they thought they'd lost, and they'd be quite happy that they managed to take this so far. On the other hand, Delhi, if they had lost this, it would have been a body blow to them, because they're a younger, more inexperienced side, and they don't have the history of success on their side. So this is a big win for Delhi,
Well, I think it's a huge win for Delhi, because Ricky Ponting can now go in the dressing room, shake all the players' hand and say, "Well done, you've got a win, but next time we've got to bowl and field a little bit better." From having the opposition at 65 for 5, we allowed them to go and get that big score because we were intimidated. All right, Andrew Russell's an incredible striker, but they just looked intimidated by a bit of inexperience, and then when they get the bat in hand, they win the game. And you make sure as a batting unit, when you get yourself in that position again, win the game, don't go for the glory, and let's shake the opposition's hand. But the Delhi Capitals, as a junior team, as you could call them, are so young. 2 out of 3, it's a good start for their campaign.
One final word on the bowlers chosen for the Super Over. We were having a chat about it. We felt that Kuldeep Yadav was a certainty for the KKR team, but they went ahead with young Prasidh Krishna, who bowled well to give 10. And then Rabada, I mean, I felt Rabada or Lamichhane, but we kind of agreed there. But what an over and what a delivery to get Russell.
Yeah, that was the delivery. That was the changing. That was the turning point, because it's not your first delivery. You've already been hit for a 4, and that's important, because that means your confidence has been dented. To come back shows really
6 or 5.
What a class bowler
strike.
he is. Yeah, what a class bowler he is. And I think it's just these kind of performances. And a very interesting point you say about that dressing room, because the most shouting, the most where I've really seen the coach go after players in a dressing room is after a win. Because after a loss, the players are anyway mostly distraught. You don't really want to go after them. It's when you win, you say, okay, you've done this, great, but now, guys, we need to straighten all this up.
I'm a big one for that. Don't overanalyze losing, analyse winning. And sometimes when you win, you can actually be more critical, because the players are, they're happy in themselves because they've got the victory. So there is a moment that you can actually go and point the finger at a few. When you've lost again, the players are dejected, they're not happy. Emotionally, just a little bit not intact.
And probably absorb it even better.
Yeah, so I think when you win, it's the time to go and give a few. The old Alex Ferguson hairdryer treatment came out a lot when they used to win. Used to just put them back in the place, make sure they stay grounded. I'm not too sure whether Ricky Ponting will be doing that tonight, but it's a perfect opportunity to say, great, you've won a game of cricket, but by the way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weren't quite at the best tonight. Improve.
Might be a metaphor. Careful when you talk about hair dryers with all the hair transplants going around. I won't mention who might have it or doesn't in that dressing room. But I know there are a few for a fact in that Delhi Capitals dressing room, but less said about that, the better. Let's go to another winner we have is our NPL Super Team hero. And who is that going to be? Here we have Rishu Kumar Madhesia with 293.25 points. Very specific there. Not as high scoring as the first game, but nonetheless, again, the Super Over wouldn't have counted. But again, enough key players to pick from this game. The big man would have had to have been there, Dre Russ.
Yeah, they must have had Dre Russ. I mean, actually, now to pick a fantasy team without Dre Russ seems a bit, that's not the right way to go.
Yeah, he was in my team for sure, so I haven't quite checked my MPL points, but I know Dre Russ was there. Not as many points, otherwise I would have been in there to add to my victory on the NPL Super Couch, but I'm not going to be greedy. Let's check the points table and see which teams are being greedier than others. We know the Delhi Capitals have picked up 2 valuable points, and they're a smidgen below the Kolkata Knight Riders with that net run rate. On top of the table, 4 points each, Chennai and Punjab. Chennai playing tomorrow. They're just behind them with 2 wins out of 2, and it should be all to play for 6 points the way they've started for the Chennai Super Kings.
I think Chennai, they need to just, that's what they'd like to do. They'd like to, start off, win, say, 3 in a row, and then let the other teams do the chasing. And then, they'll play around with their side. They'll try all their combinations. They'll try all their bowlers. They'll lose a couple in the middle, and then by the time the semi-finals are up, they've sort of worked out their dip in form, and they're ready to sort of ascend again.
We'll come to that in a moment. Let's go in order. The afternoon game first, which is going to be the neighbouring cities playing each other. That's Hyderabad and Bangalore taking on each other. The match being played in Hyderabad. And for the Royal Challengers Bangalore, it's going to be a huge game. They've lost 2 on the bounce, and they'll be seething after that second loss in particular. So they'll need to come back against a strong Hyderabad unit.
Yeah, I think Sunrisers Hyderabad are probably the best thinking team. With Tom Moody as coach, Kane Williamson as the skipper, and they've got David Warner, who, whatever he did in that year off, he was probably hitting a lot of balls, because he's hitting the ball as well as I've ever seen him. And once you've got someone like that with a bit between the teeth, Johnny Bairstow's starting nicely, so that's a good combination at the top of the order. And they've got good variables. Rashid Khan's outstanding in T20 cricket, and they're a real clever team. They used Rashid Khan against Josh Butler in the last game because they thought it was a good matchup. It worked. So you always feel with the Sunrisers, or I think that They're always going to be strategically well placed with all the thinking that they do. And it's not all on analytics, it's on real clever cricket thinking of what they feel are going to be the hard matchups when they come up against the different teams. So they'll change it again tomorrow. I don't know what the combination will be, but it certainly won't be the same as the last game.
Well, let's try and surmise on that, because remember, they had to make a change with Kane Williamson coming in, so hence Shakib Al Hasan had to make way in this game. So now, how do you see this? You've got options in there, got Billy Stanlake as an option. So do you see Stanlake not an option at the moment? Do you see any of these changes happening for tomorrow's game? You said yes, but where do you think?
Well, it might not be in terms of the 11. It may be the same 11, but they might just have different matchups to the players that they're playing against. You know, they might fancy someone different to go after Virat Kohli. You know that you've got to keep AB de Villiers very difficult, by the way. But they'll be thinking overnight of who's going to be that bowler to try and dislodge Virat Kohli and AB de Villiers. Who's going to be able to get them out? If you keep them in for a period of time on the Royal Challengers Bangalore side, you know that they're going to create an impact in the game. So Tom Moody and his think tank, Kane Williamson, will be having dinner this evening thinking, right, what do you reckon, pal? Who's going to get Virat Kohli out? Who's going to get AB de Villiers out? And they'll try and come up with a solution tomorrow.
So planning there, but what about the planning? I mean, they'll have put aside that last game very quickly. What will be the mindset there? And because Virat Kohli likes to say that, listen, I'm having faith in my players, even though we've lost 2 on the bounce.
Yeah, but it's a tough one, because if they lose 3, this is going to be, really downhill from them. They've perennially underachieved, and I think there's a lot of pressure. And I think this is a problem of Virat as a captain. He tends to take pressure on himself. Some captains do, he wants to take it by the bit and try and do it all himself. It's not always possible. They'll need a really, really big performance, because remember, the big difference with this Sunrisers side is they're probably 90% or 85% of where they were as a bowling unit, but they're about 120% of where they are as a batting unit. They're a far more formidable batting unit this year than they were last year. And that
Death bowling still a problem for Bangalore?
Death bowling is always going to be, I don't know why. I mean, it's probably something in the Chinnaswamy air that, they get it in the practice, they just can't seem to bowl at the death. I think that they will. Some interesting signs. I think young Shivam Dubey, there is a player to watch out for. But the big thing about it is you're never going to, what Bangalore has always traditionally won by is big single individual performances. Gale gets a big 175, Virat gets a 140, somebody gets big runs, Umesh gets 4 wickets. And these guys,
Stark used to come up with those.
Exactly. Whereas these guys win with 3, 4, 5 little performances, 70 here, 2 for here. Rashid Khan always chips in, and that's why more people contributing is always going to give you more consistent performances, and that's
they somehow have got to find a combination at the top of the order that just gets them off to a start. So all the pressure isn't on Virat and AB de Villiers. Moeen Ali went at the top just the other day. He looked like he was just starting to find a bit of form. I like Moeen Ali at the top. Those first 6 overs, he's a gifted player. But they've somehow got to try and find a little bit more than just AB de Villiers and Virat Kohli. If those 2 arrive and have a great day, well, you're going to win the game. But you can't always rely on that pairing just doing all the work for you with the bat in hand.
You can't see too much on the bench there that is actually looking as if, wow, there's a threat coming from there.
Yeah, you could. What you could do is, I can see both Pawan Negi and Washington Sundar. It depends on how, Virat is a very instinctive captain, how much he believes in them. But both those guys have played for India. They're both fairly decent lower order batsmen who can whack it a bit and are good spinners.
But the question is, in whose place? Because Navdeep Saini has done well. Virat Kohli was very clear about that. Siraj too hasn't been bad. So in whose place?
I mean, Siraj is the only guy they can really replace, because otherwise the rest of it reasonably picks itself. They've held faith with Shimron Hetmyer, who still hasn't really given them enough to have faith in, but I think they'll hold on to it for another couple of matches. Look, I'm completely against also continuously opening with Parthiv Patel, because I believe Parthiv Patel is a stopgap opener. See, my logic is that if I'm batting, we all know that Parthiv Patel after the first 6 can't clear the field. Okay. Now you've given this guy a chance to bat. He's gone and given you 25-30 runs. Now the 6th over is over. Now if he can't cross the field, then he has to get out. Now the next guy who comes in has to start from scratch, and he'll require another 4-5 balls to set himself. So your basic problem is that you're not giving the best batsmen in your side a chance to get set. Exactly what you talked about.
I would personally put Virat to open the batting and have AB de Villiers at 3. So my best 2 players are at 2 and 3, because you've got 120 balls. Why would you want AB de Villiers coming in at number 4 when he might not get into the 10th over? So I wouldn't even look at the negative or the side of, oh yeah, but what happens if you lose a couple? Don't look. You look at the fact that you've got 120 balls. You want those two players in particular
to get the best chance
to face the majority of them. Put them at 2 and 3.
Second game, I think the big talking point, not necessarily the two squads, is going to be about the 22-yard strip, because Chennai Super Kings are going back to Chennai, playing against the men in pink, and we know what happened on the opening day of the season, 70 all out. Now the real big question is, in these few days, how quickly can you turn around that same square?
We'll find out tomorrow, I guess is the answer. Oh, it was a shocking wicket.
Today, actually.
Today, yeah, you're right. I've not looked at my clock for a while. Yeah, it can't be anything like that. It'll be better, I'm sure. They'll water it. I'm sure they'll have rolled it. There's no way that it can be the same kind of surface that we saw in the first game. That wasn't a great advert for the IPL.
Yeah. If it turned anymore, it'll come back to the bowler. Honestly, I mean, they cannot do it. Somebody, you see, Chennai has that tendency of, if somebody in officialdom asks for something, they always over-deliver. So this is serious over-delivery, Seeing his side, Dhoni would have said, let there be a little turn in the pitch. And they said, yes, you said turn, we'll give you a turn.
Well, it's a massive game for Rajasthan. They don't want to be exactly the same as RCB. They don't want to be 3 losses from 3. They've played okay. They've got close on 2 occasions, but you want to be winning those close games. This IPL series, there's 14 games, and yes, you can say it's early days, but you want to just gain some momentum. You need to get an early win, and the Rajasthan Royals tomorrow need to win tomorrow.
Yep. Well, let's have a look at the men in yellow first. Remember, we talked about certain teams and the trend being to not necessarily push in that fourth foreigner. They've got another option in terms of an overseas player in Scott Kuggeleijn, who's been added to that squad over there. But they do have options that they haven't used, Faf du Plessis being one option. But again, you stick to 3 overseas players?
No, my sense is maybe not tomorrow. At some point in time, Dhoni will insert du Plessis in the lineup just to have him ready for the playoffs and just to get him ready. He always does that. So, it was like Harbhajan Singh last year. He didn't get bowling. Suddenly, 6th match onwards, he started giving him because he said, I'll need him come playoff time. So I think Faf is also going to get his run at that point in time. He will, once he wins a couple of matches, he's won 2, he gets one more win, he'll start playing around a bit with this team. But not enough. He never does it wholesale. A lot of captains will do 4 changes and all. He'll just change one guy and put him in.
If the pitch is similar to the last pitch, they might play Mitchell Santner. They might go for a left-arm spinner. They might just pack the ball in with spin. If there's one captain that would go all spin, MS Dhoni is the captain to do that.
And every time they cut to Mitchell Santner in the dugout there, you could see he was like, get this bib off me, I want to be out there. He was not enjoying sitting out there.
Which spinner would not like to be out there? Bishan Singh Bedi would probably be looking and saying that, I'm only 74 odd years old, I can go and turn it on that pitch.
Yep. Well, what about the men in bright pink, the new colours for this season for the royalty, the Rajasthan Royals? The only thing is they haven't put in very regal performances, and they will certainly need to turn that around, because on paper it looks like a very exciting lineup, especially up top. Stephen Smith, Jos Buttler, Ben Stokes, Jofra Archer, they're itching to get into that World Cup team.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Ish Sodhi on the bench there. I think he'll probably come in for tomorrow's game. They'll want a leg spinner, and they've got a lot of talent. They've got a lot of kind of athleticism. They've got a lot of all-round quality, but they've lost 2 games. And that's just a team on paper at the minute. They've just got to start winning games, and they're going to the hardest place of them all to try and get their campaign off with a win tomorrow, and that's against Chennai. But there's lots of quality, and you're looking at Sanju Samson's 100 the other day. We nearly saw 100 from Prithvi Shaw tonight, and he's an outstanding talent. I know Shane Warne said he thinks he's going to be the most valuable player of the IPL. I know Warne likes a big statement, but he's never far wrong, and he looks a real quality batsman. As Smith hasn't really had a chance to get out there yet. He's not been required. And then you've got Stokes, you've got Butler, you've got Ajinkya Rahane at the top, who played nicely in the last game. It's a quality batting unit.
The bowling worries me a bit, but the bowling worries me, and they need Ish Sodhi for this kind of pitch that they're going to play in tomorrow. Ish probably would be a really good, but the point is, which international player do you take out? Because the first 3 are batsmen, are all-rounders, because you have Ben Stokes, Steve Smith, Jos Buttler. They're not going to be dropped. You're not going to take out Jofra Archer. Jofra Archer is there,
What about maybe Steve Smith? He's not really been required yet.
Absolutely. Actually, Steve Smith is the only guy who's replaceable.
For courses. You've got to just say, make senior player, but
you've got to pick the team that you feel are going to win the game. You can't pick on reputation. You can't pick on, I guess, the salary of what you're paying them. You've got to pick on what the best 11 is for that game.
If you really want a leg spinner, I can bowl.
I've still got a feeling that elbow's not great.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not too sure whether he can tweak a few ever. I know his throwing is not as the powerful best that he was in the last few years, but I think they might just bring in a little Ish Sodhi.
All right, it's been a long day, but before we forget, we did pose you a teaser at the very start of the day, or yesterday, for one more time, if I can say that. So I'm going to hold it and leave it to Joy Bhattacharjya to finally reveal the answer to your question.
Okay, here goes. So the question was that Isuru Udana is one of only 2 people to achieve a particular feat, the second being an Indian. Who and what feat are we talking about? It's in T20 cricket, as I gave the hint. These are the only 2 legitimate 2-ball hat-tricks. So basically, they had, both their hat-tricks had 2 legitimate deliveries and 1 stumping of a wide. So only in T20 cricket can you bowl 2 balls legally and still have a hat-trick. Wow. So amazing. Only 2 of these guys have got it. I'll remember the second all my life, because the player who got it was against KKR. KKR was cruising at 128 for no loss, and then we lost 6 wickets for about a run, and lost a match to the... who was that? I think it was the Rajasthan Royals. Yeah, it was the Rajasthan Royals. Yeah. Of course, we won the next 9 and won the championship, but that
well
was...
slipped in at the end there, just in case, yeah, victim. But we, of course, have to have a winner for that, because this was in the tougher category, you'll have to say, because it needed a bit of explanation. So who is the one who explained it best and explained it first? And there's the answer. Mohammad Fahad 42. Not a first-time winner. He's won it earlier, so obviously he had the experience, exactly as we had the players today, the experienced players who came to the fore.
Exactly, and I believe that, see, if he's got 42 out there, he's either a Douglas Adams fan or a Brendan McCullum fan. Either way, it's not too bad, you know. I'll go with both.
Well, it's been a strange Super Saturday out there. We didn't really expect to have that Super over, but we had it. So, gentlemen, just to sum up your moment of the day.
Moment of the day. Let's think. I like young players. I like seeing young players flourish. I know Dre Russell smacked it to all parts, but Prithvi Shaw for me. I just think he's a wonderful player.
I have to say, I'd give it to him. There's one particular ball that I like, that he just waited long enough to, you know, let the ball settle and just hit it far right of the field. And it's that kind of timing and that kind of sense of time and space that I think makes him really special.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. As I said, it's been a long day. It's been a long Saturday, spilt into Sunday. We will see you again at the latter part of this Sunday, where we've got another double-header coming up for you on MPL Presents Cricbuzz Live. Just to throw in my own, that Rabada delivery is something to remember for the ages. The Delhi Capitals winning their much-needed victory, taking them to the top of the table along with the Kolkata Knight Riders. So much to play for. We'll see you again at the end of this day.